Thank you for tuning in here. This is the Sports Cube with Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM, Point Park's radio station. Have a lot to get into, and that was we got new speakers here at WPPJ. Very excited for that. But I think usually the one button is set here on our board, and it wasn't set, and I just looked over. I was like, oh, it's not set. But so I just clicked on that, and now we're good. So thank you everybody for bearing with me. Got a lot to get into here. Steelers. So I'm going to talk a lot about the Steelers and their embarrassing performance offensively against the Cincinnati Bengals. Going to talk about more NFL, some college football, and some MLB, and some college football coaching, the carousel of coaching. And I'm also going to talk about the MLB. I mean, the Dodgers have advanced to the World Series. I think Game 7 of the ALCS is tonight. So, going to get into all of that on the show. But I'm going to start with the Steelers, of course, who suffered a really, really tough loss to the Cincinnati Bengals. What was it, 33-31? I don't even remember the score. I was dumb. I turned my TV off right after the game. I was just done with that. And a lot of us suspected this could be one of those games where Thursday night Mike Tomlin never does particularly well, and going on the road, facing an inferior opponent, but facing Joe Flacco, who Mike Tomlin has not had success against recently. In fact, one game with the Colts when Joe Flacco was there, Anthony Richardson gets hurt. It was terrible. I mean, Joe Flacco absolutely cooked the Steelers, and he did similar on Thursday night. Just all night, diced up the Steelers. You figure you double-team Jamar Chase, and he wouldn't be open as much. I mean, he's one of the best receivers in football, but he was running almost wide open almost every passing play. And he got 16 reception, I think, and I think he had like 20 targets. So, I mean, that's what I would do if I had a world-class receiver like Joe Flacco has here. And, I mean, he took full advantage of that. The Steelers' defense, which, again, and the whole team as a whole, was taking significant strides this season from game to game. I mean, early on, especially, the defense was just horrendous. But every week it's gotten a little better, I felt. And against the Browns didn't do anything against the Steelers. Now, granted, it's the Browns. But you go on Thursday night, and I know it's a short week, but, I mean, the Bengals did whatever they wanted. And they're the worst rushing team in football. And they're able to run it down the Steelers' throat. And that's the thing. They got pushed around. Cam Hayward got pushed around. Keanu Benton had a moment early, but other than that, was pushed around. T.J. Watt was nowhere to be found for another game this season. How's that contract looking for the Steelers after a bunch of Steeler fans were pushing very, very hard to extend T.J. Watt? Well, you got your wish. Is this what you wanted? Is this what you hoped for? I guess so. Underperformance to the max right now for T.J. Watt, and the secondary was a disgrace. Now, Jalen Ramsey, people are kind of jumping all over Jalen Ramsey, and there were some really bad moments for him, but he had like the only pass breakups in the game. I mean, Joey Porter Jr. had one, I think, but that one could have easily been a pass interference as well. A lot of people saying Joey Porter Jr. is really good. They've been real quiet for about a year now because he's not good. It's been proven. All he does is grab and hold these receivers. He could have a penalty called on him on every passing play. But unfortunately for him, the refs don't call. But they call it in enough, and they call it in big moments to where he's like the most penalized corner in football when he's on the field. And the Steelers are negatively affected by that. And it was everybody. The linebackers were awful. Peyton Wilson, he'll do something like, wow, that was a great play by Peyton Wilson, and then he'll have the dumbest play you've ever seen in your life. Patrick Queen, he was running all over the field against the Browns on Sunday. on Thursday he was running just to try to catch up to people after they sped right past him in pass coverage. I mean, he was not good at all. I mean, I really don't know of anybody on that defense that you look at and you're like, they played a really good game, or a good game even. So, I mean, it was just an all-around really bad performance. And the Steelers have more than a week now to kind of reassess where they're at. And they play the Packers at home in a game full of storylines. But they're going to need to make so many adjustments. And the thing is, they never make adjustments. They haven't made adjustments in the entire Mike Tomlin tenure defensively. They get picked apart in the biggest games. This wasn't even a big game, but it was with a competent quarterback. They were getting picked apart in every meaningful game, and there's no changes made. And people are going to go to Terrell Austin, who I don't know if he really does anything. I think he answers to the head coach in terms of what he's doing defensively. And, I mean, so he's going to be the scapegoat. I've seen people on X and on all platforms saying Terrell Austin needs to be fired. Maybe he does. I don't think he's very good. But who hired him? Who's the one who has no coaching tree whatsoever? Who's the one that in the biggest games, his side of the football always underperforms and gets absolutely gashed? And who's the one who never adapts and changes his scheme when it continually gets cooked? That's Mike Tomlin. And unfortunately, the Steelers are a franchise. Fortunately and unfortunately, it's a double-edged sword. The Steelers are stuck in their own ways. And that's good because the standard is the standard. There'll never be, the Browns or a team that's perennially under 500 or under 500 at all. But also, and they went all in, this quote-unquote all in this offseason, getting 33 and 34-year-old corners and a 41-year-old quarterback who's done excellent this season. He is not the problem whatsoever. That loss is not at all on Aaron Rodgers, and nobody's saying it is, but there can be no conversation about in this game negative towards Aaron. I know he threw 2 picks. The one was a great play by the corner, snatching it out of DK Metcalf's hand. The other one was basically an arm punt by Rodgers, so it wasn't, it was a bad pick, but it was not what lost the Steelers the game. What lost the Steelers the game was Mike Tomlin's defense getting absolutely cooked continually. I mean, they had 2 drives, I think, where they got stops, and the rest of it was just long drives, get it to Jamar Chase as much as possible. Oh, there's T. Higgins wide open on Joey Porter when he does not holding him. Or he's getting a pass interference call. Yoshivas, he drops everything now, but Joe Flacco throws a perfect ball down the middle, deep down the field, and Darius Slay is nowhere to be found. He gets absolutely beat. So that is the concern. These corners are, Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay. These are older guys who were really good in their prime, but for Darius Slay, I think for sure he's past his prime. He's hopefully doesn't turn into that Patrick Peterson kind of situation. But Jalen Ramsey's made some plays, and I think it's just you're going to lose a lot when you're playing against Jamar Chase if you're a corner. And unfortunately for Jalen Ramsey, they just said we're going to get it to Jamar Chase as much as possible. So, but I don't think it's like an individually thing. I think the Steelers weren't ready to play. Especially on a short, I don't trust them with a full week of preparation. I don't know what they do on the defensive side to prepare in these games, let alone on a short week on Thursday Night Football with 4 days to prepare. I don't trust it at all, and I think a lot of people, there was that worry, there was that seed of doubt, because people were thinking, could this be a different Steelers team? Could this be one? We've seen what the offense can do, and it was further proven on Thursday night that it can do some things, that it has a higher ceiling, certainly than in years past. But is that defense going to be up to play in these games where you got to win them? And in the big games as well. And we've seen it in this game and on Thursday night. Tomlin is so bad in division on Thursday nights. I think a lot of that is because everybody's familiar with each other, but the other team always uses that to their advantage, and Tomlin does not. So this is a great night for the people still defending Mike Tomlin is a very good head coach. I hear the line all the time. If he was fired today, 20 teams would be calling the Steelers. Well, they can. I hope the Jets will be calling. You want to go to the Jets, Mike? We'll send him anywhere, and see how he does in a not when the situation and a team that was excellent was not just handed to him. People forget that team in 2007 was handed to him by Bill Cowher. It was a Super Bowl contender already. I would love to see Mike Tomlin start from scratch. Would take over the Jets, take over Miami right now. I would love to see that personally. I don't think it would go well at all. So, and it's not. I'm not hating on Mike Tomlin. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a family man. I love his character. I love his attitude. I just don't think he's a great football coach. X's and O's. He's along the lines of the Dan Campbells of the world, right? Of the Nick Sirianni. He's a master motivator. He's probably the best motivator next to Dan Campbell in football. But X's and O's, he's stuck to the same scheme that maybe worked 15, 20 years ago, but doesn't work in today's NFL. And that was shown for sure on Thursday night. And so, I mean, what else can I say? I mean, every Thursday, last year against Cleveland, the defense was picked apart by Jameis Winston in the snow, too. And we see it on Thursday night just continually. The Steelers get that 10-0 lead, and I guess you can say they took their foot off the gas a little bit, but that's still, it's not. I'm not putting it on the offense again at all. Aaron Rodgers made some great throws. Pat Freiermuth had a great game after being criticized a lot, not having much production at all throughout the first 5 games of the season. As a great game, especially late, especially in that second half, catching those touchdowns and that deep pass from Rodgers where he's scrambling around. You're thinking, oh boy, this is not going to go. They're going to have to punt this or go for him 4th down, and the Bengals are going to win going away. But Aaron just makes that great throw just with just enough time, and Freiermuth's able to catch it and take it all the way in. So Freiermuth had a really good game. Jaylen Warren continues to play very well. Darnell Washington can just keep getting him the ball. I think they should have targeted DK Metcalf a little bit more, but they targeted Jonnu Smith a little bit as well. He got that touchdown. So, again, I'm not blaming the offense. In fact, if the defense can play like it has prior to this game, with that offense we saw, now again, the Bengals' defense is horrendous, and without Trey Hendrickson, even worse, but like this team could go places. It's just I have no trust. I have no faith in a Tomlin defense, but it matters most to get it done. And this was a huge game. I mean, you could have put the division, for all intents and purposes, on ice after this game, being 5-1. The Ravens 1-5. With there's still a lot of season left, but with a 4-game cushion, you figure if you split with the Ravens, that just makes it increasingly difficult. But now it makes it a little bit easier for the Bengals. The Bengals gain a game. Obviously, the Browns won, and the Ravens were on a bye. So everybody gets closer to the Steelers. But the issues are bigger than that. The issues are winning big games and a defense that comes to play and does not get gashed for 60 minutes in games that matter, in games that are must-win. So, but I do think the Packers game, I think the Steelers, I'll talk about it. We'll have reaction next Monday as well on my show, but I think it's a very winnable game for the Steelers. The Packers have not looked good at all, especially on the road. They barely beat Jacoby Brissett and the Cardinals. They had fits with the Bengals at home with Joe Flacco just being thrust in. So I think that's a very winnable game. I don't think Jordan loves all that. I have a podcast, We Are Family, Pittsburgh Sports Podcast on YouTube, and Jake Bell and Pirate Pay, my buddies, they like Jordan Love more than I do. I haven't seen it yet from him. There's been spurts and everything, but I haven't seen it from the wide receivers consistently. I like Tucker Kraft, the tight end, a lot. I really do. But I think that's a winnable game. And I think the Packers' defense on the road, you can score on them. We saw Dallas do it with ease. on that Sunday night game, and Jacoby Brissett passed for a lot of yards, and they were able to run the ball on this Packers defense for a little bit. So I think that's a winnable game for the Steelers for sure. And honestly, I think it's almost a must-win because you go 4-3 now. Now it really looks bad. It looks like the collapse could be early. So it's not looking great for the Steelers. But after a Sunday where you took care of business, you beat the Browns. There was nothing. They were not even close to competing in that game. You completely controlled the game. And now you pivot. You lose to the Bengals on Thursday Night Football. Everybody sees your defense fall apart in real time. And there's some serious questions now. And they were saying after the Browns game, we're fully healthy now. This is what we can do as a defense. And then you proceed 4 nights later to get completely cooked. Is that what your defense can do? Get demolished by Joe Flacco, 40-year-old Joe Flacco, on Thursday night? That's what we can do at full strength. That's not a good sign for the Steelers going forward. So that's what's going on with the Steelers. On the other side of this break, I'm going to talk about the NFL and some of the games that stuck out to me yesterday. Sports Scoop and Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM. And welcome back to the Sports Scoop and Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM, Point Park's radio station. I'm going to get into the games that we saw yesterday, 2 Monday night games. Again, the NFL going with these 2 Monday night games. Nobody likes it. It's purely for money, and it's a bad product. Are people on the East Coast going to get up, and stay up for a 10 p.m. Seahawks-Texans game, which is a compelling game, but it's at 10 o'clock at night, and people got to wake up early. I got to wake up early the next morning. I just don't understand it from the NFL. Like, I guess you're earning money, whatever they can do to earn some money, but nobody likes it. But anyway, we're going to have a couple Monday night games tonight, but the Rams in London just destroyed Jacksonville. I have good weeks. Last week I had a good week in my picks, and this week it's a disaster. I have the Lions tonight. If they win, then that'll kind of help my cause a little bit. But still, I had the Jaguars to win this game, and I was completely wrong there. The Rams have not looked good this season, just point blank. They haven't looked like they've put a full 60 minutes together, kind of similar to what Philadelphia's issue's been. But I think they did in this game, honestly. I mean, start to finish, they were just Konate Mumfield catching the first touchdown of the game. Pitt, former Pitt wide receiver, who got drafted. I think he's a rookie now. He got drafted, if I'm not mistaken. So congrats to Konate Mumfield there. But Matt Stafford going to Devontae Adams early and often. That's a good recipe without Puka Nacua. So the Rams, it was over before it started. I didn't watch at all this game really. I slept in, and when I woke up, it was 28-0 or 21-0 Rams. I was like, okay, we don't have to tune into that. I didn't miss anything, so that's what happened. Trevor Lawrence did not look very good, and the Jaguars actually had a lot more yards than the Rams, but they were playing catch-up the whole game. They didn't run the ball much at all. Travis Etienne only had like 7 or 8 carries, and that was all on the last 2 drives because once they knew they were done, they just ran the ball. But they were throwing on every play basically, and they weren't having any success. And so that's unfortunate for Jacksonville there because now they're 4-3 after a very nice start, and they're kind of at a crossroads here with Indianapolis looking like the clear favorites in the NFC and the AFC South, and they look like the best team in the AFC right now, next to Kansas City. So it looks like the AFC South is headed, unless the Texans have something to say about it late in the year. Although I just don't see it right now at all. Colts look really, really good. So, like I said about the Chiefs just absolutely destroyed the Raiders, 31-0. the Raiders could do nothing offensively. The Raiders are bad. The Raiders are just a bad team. I thought they'd be 6-11, 7-10, and just be a little feisty. They look worse than last year almost. I mean, it's crazy. Geno Smith's not been the answer. He made some really bad decisions in this game. But the Chiefs just methodically ate at the Raiders. They weren't scoring, these quick 5-play drives. There's a lot of 10, 11, 12-play drives where they just, and there'd be third downs and they would just convert all of them. There was a 3rd and 14 when it was 14-0. You're thinking, if the Raiders can get a stop to get the ball, start the second half or whatever. I can't remember who, but they were still in the game maybe. If they get a stop there and they almost get to Mahomes, and instead he's able to find Kelsey, or I can't remember who it was, for 20 yards, and they convert the first down, they get the touchdown, and they win. They win going away. Just an easy win. And a lot of the 1 p.m. window yesterday, and in several of these weeks has not been good. The Browns destroyed the Dolphins. Raiders got destroyed by the Chiefs. Patriots, after a little scare early, it was a snooze fest against the Titans. The Titans are no good. Panthers, Jets, I want to give props to whoever sat through that game. And the Bears really didn't do nothing against the Saints, and the Saints kept turning it over. The only semi-compelling game was Eagles-Vikings, and Carson Wentz kept turning it over, and Minnesota was they kept settling for field goals when they got into the red zone. So it wasn't a good product to really watch. It was the Eagles. Jalen Hurts was throwing the deep ball, which was good to see, certainly, if you're an Eagles fan. And he has a good deep ball. The Eagles' offense looked a little better after the bye here. But, other than that, it was a snooze fest during the 1 p.m. window. Browns just they just absolutely demolished the Dolphins. The Dolphins are cooked. It's a matter of when, not if, Mike McDaniels gets fired. He looks disinterested. He's not a guy that kind of galvanizes the locker room, and they need galvanizing, and it's just not going to come from the head coach. And Tua is all over the place, and he's talking trash to his teammates. It's like, you got to have some self-awareness here. You're one of the worst quarterbacks in the league this year. You can't be. Everybody's been bad on that Dolphins team, so they're headed for a high draft pick. You wonder if they're going to look at a quarterback. Although, like I've been documenting, the 2026 quarterback class does not look great. Certainly looks a lot worse than it did going into the season. Although I always thought it wasn't very good. But the Dolphins were on quit watch. They've been on quit watch really all season, and I think they've quit. The Titans haven't quit; they just stink. I think they're playing hard. Maybe, I don't even know. I haven't watched very much of any Titans games all season. Don't want to sit through that. But Cam Ward had that nice throw, and Tennessee went up 10-3. But it was just all Patriots after that, and Cam Ward had that fumble. They were at near their own end zone. And he tries to throw it, and the ball just comes out of his hand. It's an easy scoop and score for that Patriots defense. And that just kind of symbolized where the Titans are at right now. They're, 4-20 since they fired Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel has 5 wins already in his first season with the Patriots. So, was it a terrible decision to fire Mike Vrabel? Yes it was. It is clear to see. And now the Titans got to find another coach. So they're not good whatsoever. The Panthers beat the Jets. Bryce Young, I think, got hurt in this game, which is not good. Justin Fields continues to play terribly. They benched him for Tyrod Taylor at halftime, and Tyrod Taylor provided a little bit of a spark, but he threw 2 costly interceptions that really hampered the chances of the Jets in this game, and they're 0-7. I don't like their coaching. Aaron Glenn, I like his fire and stuff, but I don't know if he knows what he's doing at all. He looks a bit over his skis. Panthers won 4 in a row. 4-3 Panthers. Congrats to them. And the Bears beat the Saints 26-14. Caleb Williams didn't have the greatest game, but DeAndre Swift had a really good game, and they capitalized on Saints turnovers. Saints are playing hard and everything. They're staying in some of these games, but they're just, especially defensively, there's just really no talent. And there's Cam Jordan and Demario Davis, who are just older players who are well past their prime. So Bears, what are they? 4-2 now. 4-2 Bears. So that they are playing better. I had them initially before the season making the playoffs, and then I took them out. But I still have them like 9-8, and so we'll see if that happens. But this is good for the Bears. But yeah, like I mentioned, Eagles win at the Vikings. The Vikings outgained the Eagles. The Vikings played a good game for the most part, but Carson Wentz had those 2 mistakes. Can't have them. And when you have 5 field goals and can only get 1 touchdown, you're not going to win many games. So Eagles, something's still off with this team. They gave up a ton of yards, like I said, to the Vikings, but they look better offensively after the bye here. We had some crazy games in that 4:25 window. The Colts look tremendous still. They blow out the Chargers. Justin Herbert passed for 420 yards, but that's because they were down by so much. Similar to what I was saying with the Jaguars, just Justin Herbert had to throw all game to try to come back against this Colts team that's humming. They're just humming right now. They look very scary in the AFC for sure. They have the best record in the AFC, I think, in the NFL. And you can make an argument. I think they've looked the best of any team in football this season, which is crazy to think about. Daniel Jones has been excellent. Jonathan Taylor's great. They got some really underrated skill players. And they have a defense that has a lot of talent. And as really always, they've always been solid defensively, but they haven't been able to get quarterback right since Andrew Luck retired. And, Shane Steichen, got to give him a ton of credit this season. It's been a great job of coaching with Daniel Jones and this whole team. So they breezed past the Chargers, who are on a bad streak. They barely beat the Dolphins, who were on quit watch. They're 4-3 now. There's some questions about the Chargers and about protecting Justin Herbert. They're the worst offensive line in football right now because they're so injured. And, Packers, like I mentioned earlier, barely beat the Cardinals 27-23. Jacoby Brissett, put him in position. And but luckily for the Packers, they get that touchdown at the end, and they were able to prevent the Hail Mary from being caught there. So Packers get out of Scottsdale with a victory. Cardinals are just on a free fall, though they've played better offensively with Jacoby Brissett than with Kyler Murray, but they're now 2-5. And my prediction of them making the playoffs looks really bad right now. So Cowboys pummeled the Commanders. I picked the Commanders to win this game, and so I was really bad this week, like I mentioned, on my picks. And I didn't know they were without their top 3 receivers. I knew McLaurin would probably be out, but I thought Deebo Samuel would be playing, and he wasn't. And Jaden Daniels gets hurt in the third quarter when they were still kind of in striking distance. Yeah, their defense, I don't like what I'm seeing right now from them. They left CeeDee Lamb wide open a lot of times. Good to see CeeDee Lamb back and healthy. But the Cowboys, if they can get any defense, that offense is one of the best, if not the best, in the league. So that'll be interesting to see. Yeah, they can win some shootouts potentially. I just don't know if it's a close game. Can you trust Brian Schottenheimer yet in that team? And can you trust Matt Eberflus's defense to get a stop? I don't think so. I need to see more in that regard. So we have to wait and see there. With the Cowboys, they have a brutal second half schedule. And this is the game everybody's talking about. Jake Bell, I want to apologize to you on behalf of, the podcast, because Jake Bell, he's been cooking with these upset picks, and he had the Giants to upset the Broncos in Denver. And I was thinking that's a really good upset pick, before the game when we heard that was his upset pick. And he was spot on. He had the right side the whole time. The Giants are up 19-0 going in the fourth quarter. and just an epic collapse in the worst possible way. I mean, how do you give up 33 points in a quarter? How is that even possible? You don't see that in high school football when it's a Whippeal 6A team against a 2A or 1A team. That's crazy to me. Giving up that many points, it's just a crazy collapse. And now if the Giants hit 2 extra points, they win the game. But maybe, they might, because there was still time. Denver settled for that field goal. They could have maybe went into the end zone and scored a touchdown as well. So it's not even on that defense, which played so well. I guess they just ran out of gas in the end. But that's a crushing loss. Brian Dable has the most crushing losses. I like him as a coach, but he just cannot win these games. They cannot hold on in these games. They have the worst collapses. They beat the Eagles, and you're looking at positive momentum. Oh my gosh, we're going to win at Denver, and you're like, this Giants team, and they lose this game. The Broncos have not looked good either. They're on fraud watch to me, and I like the Broncos. I like Denver. I like the Nuggets. Everything. So I don't have anything against the Broncos, but everybody's give pom and wow, look at the Broncos. They're 4-2, and now they should have beat the Colts. They should have beat the Chargers, but they could have lost this game. They could have lost to the Jets. I mean, what was that performance? I mean, they could easily be 3-3 or worse as it stands right now. But they're 4-3 or 3-4, but they're 5-2 now. So they're in a good spot here. But the Chiefs they look much better than the Broncos right now, and they are just a game back. So in the Sunday night game, I mean, there wasn't really much going on in that game. Niners beat the Falcons 20-10. Christian McCaffrey, they just fed him all night, and he did a great job. And Michael Penix Jr. had some plays, but that offense was kind of stymied. He kind of figured this was a good spot for the Niners, coming off a loss, and the Falcons coming off a great win. They hang the banner victory versus the Bills on Monday night. So those are the games that happened yesterday. Like I said, Bucks-Lions is tonight. I have the Lions in our picks thing. We can pick a team that's favored by 5.5 or lower. And now everybody's betting the Lions, so that I don't know if we're gonna accept that here. But I have the Lions winning this game, and then I think the Seahawks are gonna win this game. But the Texans off a bye, and they look better, albeit against that Baltimore defense that had nobody healthy. So, I don't know. It looks like a Seahawks win there, but that's a stay-away game for me. But I'll watch a little bit of it, but I gotta go to sleep. Maybe at halftime or something. I don't even know. I don't like the 10 p.m. at all. I don't like the 7 p.m. and 8:15 kickoffs I don't like 2 Monday Night Football games at all. So I really don't like that. But coming up on the other side of this break, I'm going to talk about Pitt's victory over Syracuse, some other big college football games, and the World Series being very close to getting underway. Sports Scoop with Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM. And welcome back to the Sports Scoop with Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM, Point Park's radio station. Glad you're still with me here, maybe, if you are still with me. Well, glad to be on here today after a little bit of some issues with the audio earlier. Got them all resolved for the most part, I think. I'm going to talk some college football and some MLB, Dodgers, and then the Blue Jays and Mariners Game 7 tonight. But, I'm going to jump right in. Pitt played on Saturday night in Syracuse. They barely showed up. That was a hard game to watch. There was so many penalties on either side. Syracuse quarterback was not good, no bueno, as they say, and it was just a terrible watch. I gotta be honest. Pitt's my favorite college team, so I'm watching them. I'm like, I want to go away, but I think to myself as a reasonable Pitt fan that if I turn the channel on them, they'll give up the lead very quickly, which they tend to do. And I was worried that this game could be a trap game of sorts. Not a trap game, but like just a weird game where Pitt would lose. Pitt always has these games. And you were hoping they got out of that with the 2 losses they had already this season. But you never know with Pat Narduzzi. There's good and there's bad. There's a lot of both. But, yeah, Pitt escapes with a 30-13 win. It was not that dominant. They outgained Syracuse like 267 to like 213. Let me see what the exact numbers were here because it was not pretty. Mason Heinschel was not very good. Now there's a lot of factors that came into play for him, but he had that really bad interception early that the camera guy, whoever the camera guy was early on, was not doing very well. We couldn't even see. I'm mad at the cameraman. Show what happened. Show the play. Show the throw down the field. And next thing you know, he pans over and the Syracuse player's running back with the football because it was an interception. That made me really mad. Just it compiled on top of each other, the anger. But he had another play where he didn't pan over in time either, but that's okay. But yeah, 260 to 212 total yards. I didn't like that they had Des Reed playing in this game, especially when you knew Syracuse couldn't do anything offensively whatsoever. They put him in a little bit too much. I hope he didn't get hurt at all, further injure himself, because they put him in for a little too much. Pitt was not able to block it. It was just the O-line was really bad in this game. Mason Heinschel was running for his life consistently and having to make some throws maybe he doesn't want to make or taking sacks. I mean, Pitt took so many. I think they got sacked 7 times. They gave up 7 sacks, which is unacceptable. And the O-line had several false starts. Kendall Stanley, who had a good game against Florida State, was not good at all against Syracuse here. He had, I think, 3 false starts, and he gave up like 2 or 3 sacks. It was just not a good performance from him. Or really anybody. It wasn't really a good performance from the team as a whole. Kenny Johnson had that big... If Johnson doesn't have that kick return buzzer beater to end the first half, we're looking at a very, very tight game in this matchup. But that made it 17-7, and it was like Syracuse, I don't even think they can score 17 points in this game. And they ended up not being able to in the end. But... yeah, 16 first downs for Pitt, 13 for Syracuse, 260 yards to 212. And it was just not good. Pitt ran the ball 43 times and only got 117 yards, only 2.7 yards a carry. And the defense, to its credit, for the most part, did a good job. But, yeah, Tamon Lynam, I hate to just be critical, but he is just so bad. I don't know why they keep trotting him out there. He got the interception, but the ball was thrown right to him. All you do is catch it. He got, on that touchdown, he played the softest coverage I've ever seen. It was a slant across the middle, and he just let the guy score for Syracuse to tie the game early on. And he got beat again later in the game as well. He's not a good player, but Pitt doesn't have great corners right now. I think Sean Lee Jr., the freshman, he could be really good. He's been really good so far. He's been the best corner so far. I think Rashad Bell, he's been giving up pass interference calls here. And I think he's okay in coverage, but I don't think he's great at all by any means. And Tamon Lynam's a liability. So I think that's a big concern when Pitt plays. Even the C.J. Bailey against NC State next week. Against C.J. Carr, Notre Dame, against Carson Beck, right? So that's a big concern in those games later in the season for Pitt. 13 penalties for 114. I think it was like 15 officially or 14, but one of them was declined. Syracuse had 12 for 107. It was just a bad performance. Syracuse turned over 3 times, and Pitt only got the field goal out of the one. They got the ball in the red zone. Mason Heinschel was just off. And he's a true freshman, but he definitely played the worst of his games so far in the 3 games he's been playing full time. 13 to 24 for 143. And his arm, I think a lot of that could be contributed to that shoulder. He threw the ball the one time, and he immediately grabbed his kind of shoulder, collarbone area, and he was doing that throughout the evening. So hopefully he's okay. I was like thinking, the game's in hand. Syracuse can't do anything offensively. Put Holstein in the game and just have him hand the ball off, or make one throw or make one or two throws or something. I understand how that would look, but at that point I was like, we don't want to hurt Mason Heinschel to get hurt any further. But yeah, Desiree got 6 carries. I didn't want him to. He did well with them, 38 yards, but I didn't want him to be playing very much because the game was like in hand. Syracuse wasn't going to be doing anything, but Pitt it was just an ugly game all around, and you got to move on. It was good that Kenny Johnson got 4 catches. He was probably the best player today. 4 catches for 59 yards, and he had the touchdown on the kick return, or on the punt return. So he played well today, Kenny Johnson. I think Ja'Carrion Turner, he had that run that was going to be a touchdown to make it 17-7 prior to Kenny Johnson's punt return touchdown. But they called it back because there was a hold by Kenny Johnson. He didn't even have to. It wasn't the most egregious, but you didn't have to hold him. He wasn't going to get to him. These penalties that were just so dumb, and the offsides. Every game you can count 2 offsides by Pitt because they're so injured. These players aren't the greatest, and you're thrusting them in here to try to get pressure, and there was a couple sacks. I think Isaiah Neal continues to play well. I think Joey Zielinski's a good player. Rasheem Biles got hurt. Cam Lindsey stepped up and played really well. Nick Lappy stepped up and played really well at the linebacker spot. Him and Lindsey, they both play really well, stepping up. But they were just a bad team. Syracuse without their quarterback Steve Angeli. They're just really bad. And it shows what quarterback can do for your team. So Pitt gets the win. They host NC State next Saturday at 3:30. They started 7.5-point favorites. Now it's Pitt minus 6.5. So it's going down a little bit. That's a worrisome game for me. I think NC State's off a bye. So, and Pitt's very hampered injury-wise. Other games, Ohio State dominated Wisconsin. Shocker. Indiana dominated Michigan State. Miami lost to Louisville. That was a shocking loss, kind of. Carson Beck, 4 interceptions. The O-line did not hold up very well in this game for Miami. Texas A&M survives against Arkansas. They're very feisty. They're a talented team. They're just terrible defensively. And their quarterback makes mistakes frequently. Georgia defeats Ole Miss. My lock of the week in college football was Ole Miss plus 7.5. They lose by 8, and they were in control of a large portion of this game. But what are you going to do? Georgia, they looked very anemic offensively against Auburn. They scored 43, and they score on every drive against Ole Miss. Alabama defeats Tennessee 37-20. It was a little closer than the score indicated, but that pick 6 to end the first half for Alabama really put Tennessee away. It's instead of maybe 16-10 at the worst, it becomes 23-7, a 2-possession game, and really put it away for Alabama. Texas Tech got upset by Arizona State, but Texas Tech had their backup in, but I still think they're the best team in the Big 12, but that was a big win for Arizona State. Oregon bounced back. They crushed Rutgers. Vanderbilt beats LSU. LSU's just not good right now offensively, and they had a rare off game defensively, which will not help. Notre Dame beat USC at home by 10, and Notre Dame has a cakewalk of a schedule the rest of the season. And the only game at Pitt, if Pitt wins that game, if Notre Dame loses it all, they're done. They're out of the playoff conversation because they don't have any huge wins. And that would be, as a Pitt fan, that would be a great feeling if they beat Notre Dame and kicked them out of the playoffs. Elsewhere, Oklahoma beat South Carolina. BYU beat Utah. That was a big game, the Holy War rivalry. I love the uniform combination there. And BYU 7-0, you got to give them credit. I don't think they're great, but you got to give them credit there. Missouri beats Auburn in double overtime. I don't think Missouri's that good. I don't think Virginia's that good. They barely beat Washington State. South Florida crushes FAU. Texas doesn't look great at all. They squeak by Kentucky. And Memphis got upset by UAB. That was a crushing loss for Memphis and their college football playoff hopes. And Penn State lost a tough one. They've lost 4 in a row. They lost by 1 point to Iowa. And West Virginia lost by 32 to UCF. And each day that loss by Pitt looks more and more inexplicable. And I think we got Game 7. I'm going to wrap up the show here with Game 7 tonight. Blue Jays at home. I love how the format is in baseball here with the 2-3-2, where the home team, or the team with the better record, they host the first 2 games, then they're on the road for 3, and then they finish the last 2 games at home. For baseball, especially with Seattle and Toronto, it's just much easier. And for baseball, which is a daily sport, makes the most sense. And this is I'm really excited for this game. It is George Kirby against Shane Bieber. And Toronto, Seattle had so many chances yesterday. And they grounded it. They had bases loaded, 1 out, double play. Bases loaded, 1 out, double play. 1 on, 1 out, double play. It was just inexplicable. And Toronto took advantage. Vlad Guerrero hits another homer. Addison Barger hit a homer. Ernie Clement just doing his thing. The Blue Jays are hot right now. And I think the Mariners they're not playing their best, but they're playing well enough to get by here. But they're going to need a big performance from George Kirby in this game tonight for sure. That's going to be a really fun game. But obviously the Dodgers are going to await the winner of this series. They swept the Brewers very easily, honestly. The Brewers just were very hapless the whole series. They just couldn't score runs. And the Dodgers' pitching depth, really, they flexed their muscle there continuously on the Brewers. I was rooting for the Brewers because, they're a division opponent, rival of your Pittsburgh Pirates, but they haven't really done anything at all. They've gotten so close, and certainly they were the underdog in this series from a talent perspective, not from a record perspective in the regular season, but the Dodgers were gearing up for October, and so this season they were very hampered by injuries all year. They're the most talented team in baseball, and in the end, talent really wins out in any sport, really, but especially in baseball here, as we see. And so Dodgers, it's going to be tough. Whoever wins that series, the Dodgers will have the advantage of rest, and they also will have the talent advantage over whoever. Although the Mariners do match up pitching-wise, and the Blue Jays have matched up pitching-wise throughout this playoffs, the way their pitching staff has been playing. So that'll be a very compelling World Series, I think, but you have to make the Dodgers the favorites for sure, no matter who wins that series. But I think the Blue Jays offense can pose some challenges. I think the Mariners pitching could pose some challenges. I think the Blue Jays ultimately will win tonight, and it's going to be Blue Jays Dodgers. It is weird. I remember watching the Blue Jays in Dodger Stadium earlier this year, and I was like, this feels like a World Series matchup, and it just might be. But that's going to do it for the Sports Scoop with Nathan Schivins today. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll be back next week reacting to Steelers and other NFL, college football, and more. Sports Scoop with Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM.